Namaskaram. Let us continue with the story of Satyavan and Savithry, which we started the other day. We couldn't complete. We had said that Savithry chose Satyavan on her own, of course, without knowing that he had short life. But when Maharishi Narada pointed out that he was great, no doubt, but he had exactly one more year to live, Savitri refused to change her mind. She insisted that she would marry Satyavan alone. And so her father, Ashwapati, yielded, and he went to the forest where Satyavan was living with his blind father and with his mother. His father was Sena of Salwa kingdom. Sena was, of course, very pleased to have Savitri as his daughter-in-law, but he said that he had lost his kingdom because he was blind. The enemy invaded his kingdom and captured it. He was now living in a hut in forest. So it will be too hard for Savitri. But Savitri stuck to her decision. So they were duly married in a simple ceremony, and Ashwapati went back. Savitri started living with them. She served her husband and her father-in-law equally very well. Her Satyavan's parents, she looked them after very well, looking after all their needs and looking after Satyavan also. And as the day neared for Satyavan's death, Savitri started getting worried. And when only 3 days were left, Savitri declared that she was going to have a vrata, a penance, for 3 days. She would stop eating completely and stand and pray to gods. She would not lie down or even sit. So she stood there in prayer, like in meditation, tapas. Though Sena tried to persuade her, she refused. So she spent 3 sleepless nights standing and praying. And on that last day, which was the last day of Satyavan's life, by evening, in the morning itself, Satyavan wanted to go to forest to bring firewood and fruits for the ashramam. But Savitri said she would accompany Satyavan that day. She has not gone out of the hermitage for 1 full year. She wanted to see the forest. So she persuaded Satyavan and his parents to let her go. So Savitri went with Satyavan, and by evening, Satyavan first complained of headache. He was tired, and he sat down and lied on Savitri's lap, and soon he lost his life. And Savitri was waiting what would happen, and she saw Yamadharmaraja, the king of the deceased world, coming and tying around Satyavan's body, and he moved not with the physical body but what is called the Linga Sharira or Sukshma Sharira, which consists of the 5 Jnanendriya, 5 sensory organs, 5 karmendriyas, which indriyas of action, the 5 pranas, the 5 breaths, and the mind, manas. So with the Linga Sharira consists of these 16 organs, and that is what goes, when one dies, it goes to the other world, either to enjoy in heaven or to suffer in hell. This is also called the Yatana Sharira, which was capable of sensing pain or pleasure even after death. So Yamadharmaraja started going away with Satyavan's Linga Sharira. The Linga Sharira is also called Sukshma Sharira, the fine body. Then Savitri followed Yamadharma Raja, and Yamaraja tried to persuade her, go back, but Savitri refused. She said, you are carrying my husband's life, and wherever he goes, I will follow. And Savitri started telling Yama 5 principles which she considered important in life. The first one was give importance to dharma over artha and kama. These are the 3 main purusharthas: dharma, artha, kama. The 4th one is moksha. Dharma is true living or true actions, dharma, right way of living, dharma. Artha is gaining material wealth. Kama is enjoying the material world. And of course, moksha is salvation. So, Savitri said that dharma is to be adhered to even over artha and kama, because dharma is the most important. And that appealed to Dharmaraja, and he was pleased. He said, I am glad to hear this from you. So I shall give you a boon, whatever you want. So she said, my father-in-law is blind. So please, with your blessing, let him have his eyesight back. Yama said, yes, okay, he shall have his eyesight back. So now you return. But instead of returning, Savitri continued to follow Yamadharma and made another statement that satsanga, sadhusanga, that is living in the company of the wise, company of the good people, that is that's very important. It is desirable. It never fails. It always gives the desired life. So that also pleased Yamaraja, and he offered another boon. And Savitri said, my father-in-law lost his kingdom because he was blind. So let he get his kingdom back. And Yama said, all right, he will have his kingdom back. Now you return. But Savitri refused. She continued to walk with Yamadharma and gave the third principle that one should live giving no injury to any life, other lives, by mind, word or action. Mano, vak, karma. There should be no injury. You shouldn't think of hurting any other living being. You should never speak words which hurt other living beings. And of course, you should never harm other living beings. And you also should be liberal in gift. And Yamadharma appreciated that very much and said, yeah, I like what you said. You are too wise for your age. So I will offer you a third boon. And Savitri said, my, what is it called? Father doesn't have any other children. He has only me as the daughter. So let him get 100 sons. And Yama said, okay, he shall have 100 sons. And now you go back. Again, Savitri refused. She followed and she gave the fourth statement. Love all beings. That makes one trusted by others. That it is through love that you earn the trust of others. So live by living others. Yama said, oh great, you said well, spoke well. And I'm quite pleased with you. I offer you a fourth boon. And Savitri said, let Satyavan also get 100 sons. Yama, without thinking, he said, okay, let him have. Actually, she asked, let me also have 100 sons for myself. Yama said, all right, you shall have 100 sons, but you go back. But Savitri said, no, she gave the fifth statement, help others without expecting help in return. Selfless help. And Yama said, yeah, well spoken. I shall give you a fifth boon. And Savitri said, you offered me 100 sons, but how can I have sons? I'm a pativrata. I'm devoted my husband, and you are taking away his life. How can I have sons? And that caught Yama on the wrong foot. Yama said, okay, you shall have. So until then, every time, all the four boons, Yama said, you ask for any boon except for the life of Satyavan. But this time he couldn't say that. So he offered Satyavan's life, and Savitri went back to the place where Satyavan's body was lying. And when she reached, Satyavan opened his eyes as though from long sleep. And he asked, what happened? I think I must have slept for a long while. I had some bad dreams. But anyway, let me get up. So with the help of Savitri, Satyavan first sat, then he stood up. Then he said, oh, my parents must be very worried because it's already dark. I never return this late. I always make sure before it is sunset I reach my parents back. So let us hurry back. And though it was dark and it was thick forest, with his experience through the signs in the forest, through the landmark, Satyavan steered Savitri through the forest, and slowly they reached their hermitage. It was then very late, almost midnight. By then, Satyavan's parents were very worried, and sages from nearby hermitages, they all came to find out what is happening, and they consoled him. Don't worry. Savitri is such a person that she will have never any misfortune. So just wait, they must have been stuck for some reason. And then they arrived, Satyavan and Savithry. And when asked what happened, Savithry explained the whole thing. And next morning, the minister from this Satyavan's kingdom came, saying that he fought with the enemies and defeated the enemy and recovered the kingdom. And the people wanted to install their king, even if he were blind. They wanted to install Vimalsena in spite of his blindness, but he had recovered his eyesight. So they all went back. Vimalsena was installed the king, and Satyavan was anointed as the Yuvaraja, heir apparent, and they lived happily. That is the story of Satyavan Savithry. The end of it. We stop today. Namaskaram.